The first story for the live read section tonight is New Year Offerings, which is a Han folktale. The herbalist, Taoist priest, and merchant in this folktale supposedly worked in one way or another for the benefit of the village folk, but they were exposed as hypocrites, equally selfish and greedy, with no compassion for their fellow men. Money was the bitch goddess, according to this book, and all worshipped at her shrine. The place chosen to betray their true nature was, ironically, in the Quan Ti Temple. Kuan Yu, the general famed for serving Louise, the contender for the throne during the Three Kingdoms period, was later deified and known as Quan Ti. He was deified a beneficent god and made much of by the military, their god of war, and in certain provinces the god of literature. Merchants also revered him. Above all, he exemplified selflessness, integrity, loyalty, and wisdom. On the first day of the new year, most people from the city or countryside visit a temple to pray for good fortune and blessings. Each one goes with a different wish, but all fervently hope that their own will be fulfilled. However, there are some who do not believe in such things. That little orphan boy from the Tao clan, for instance, the one with the pock-marked face, nicknamed Little Pockface, but he did not mind it, he never had any good fortune or blessings, nor did he seek any. He just happened to be loitering that early New Year's morning in the Quan Ti Temple. Someone was coming in order to offer New Year gifts and pray. Little Pockface was merely curious to see what would happen, so he hid behind the big statue of Quan Ti. That was how he happened to see Dr. Li, owner of an herb shop in town, arrive carrying joss sticks, tea cakes, and yellow paper. All the wishes of a supplicant are written on yellow paper and burned in the presence of the god to whom the petition is made. Placing the tea and cakes on the altar, he lit the joss, kowtowed, and knelt to pray. "I am the herbalist Dr. Li," he said. "I have come especially to pay you respect for the new year. O living Buddha, please cast a spell so there is an epidemic this year. Then I'll be very busy and have many patients. I promise to return next year in the early morning and bring tribute to repay you for your blessings." After he left, Little Pockface saw a Taoist priest named Wang come in. He too offered incense, lit some candles, kowtowed, and also knelt to pray. "O Reverend Quan Ti, my old Buddha in heaven, I beg you to bless my family," he implored. "But please, spread disease on my fellow beings, so I'll be very busy with calls to say prayers for the dead. When I return next year on this very morning, I promise to offer you a lantern that will be lit all year round, and burn joss sticks the year round too." After his vow, he also left. Soon the proprietor of a coffin shop, a fat fellow with a big head, nicknamed Fatty Wu, came in. He began his prayers by saying, "I had a bad year last year. There wasn't much business, so I still have a big quantity of merchandise stored in my shop. Please, old Buddha, with your blessings enable me to sell all my coffins this year. By harvest time I promise to build a new temple for you." After he left, some village farmers came in. They came simply to offer New Year greetings. They had no gifts, but when they kowtowed, they prayed, "O Buddha, grant us blessings for a good year, suitable wind, enough rain, and a bountiful harvest, and good health for men and animals. We promise to bring offerings, joss sticks, and candles next year to repay you and show our gratitude." Little Pockface heard everything clearly. Besides, he knew all these people, especially the herbalist, Li and Fatty Wu. When the orphan was a small boy begging for food at their doorsteps, he recalled how they beat him and kicked him out. He was now 18 years old, and as he listened to their supplications, he recalled his hate for them. "They really are intolerable," he thought to himself. "There must be some way to punish them." The first thing he did was to go to Fatty Woo's store and call out, "The son of the herbalist, Dr. Lee, who lives up the street, had a fit after the New Year dinner last night. By daybreak his son was dead. Lee sent me here. Do you have a coffin on hand? I must go back to let him know. The doctor himself will be here soon." "Yes, yes, we do. Please come in," the coffin proprietor said with a beaming smile. In the past, when little Pockface came to beg, not only would Fatty Woo heap abuses on him, he always slammed the door in his face. But now he was suddenly so courteous, asking the young fellow in, even offering him tea and tobacco. Little Pockface then hurried to the herbalist's shop to see Dr. Lee and said, "The coffin proprietor's wife suddenly became ill this morning. She is in a serious condition and purposely sent me to ask you to look at her immediately." The herbalist became very excited and called his daughter to help wrap the herbs. His wife, sitting nearby, remarked, "Daughter, please be quick. People are waiting. Today is the first of the year. Such good luck augurs well for the rest of the year." Meanwhile, the herbalist mumbled to himself, "That was a mighty good prayer I offered Buddha," and hastily departed with the little Pockface, who took him to the front door of the coffin proprietor's store. "Please, doctor," little Pockface said, "old proprietor Woo is waiting for you inside. Please go in." Little Pockface then disappeared and went on his way to the Taoist priest. Proprietor Woo happened to see the herbalist enter, so he quickly went to usher his visitor to the guest room, where he placed New Year candies on the table and offered tea and tobacco. The two exchanged New Year greetings, and after a while Fatty Woo stood up and asked Dr. Lee, "Will you come with me to have a look?" The doctor followed, saying, very good, ching, ching, please, please." Fatty Woo then led Dr. Lee to the place where the coffins were stored and said, "Please make your own choice. When you decide, the price can be talked about later." The herbalist was puzzled, and cutting short any further conversation, he asked, "Isn't your wife very sick? Why bring me to look at coffins?" "What bad luck to say such things on the first day of the year," Fatty Woo thought, almost losing his temper. But he cooled down because of the prospective business and merely said, "There's no sickness in my house, but you sent a messenger to tell me that your son died of a sudden illness. Haven't you come in to buy a coffin?" Hearing this infuriated Dr. Lee, who began to curse. Curses were hurled back and forth until the argument became increasingly heated. Meanwhile, little Pockface had reached the place where the Taoist priest lived. "The coffin proprietor's son died of sudden sickness," the youth exclaimed. "The body is already in the coffin, but since it's New Year's Day with no helper around, I was asked to fetch you to say prayers for his son. The quicker you get there, the better." After hearing the news, the priest stopped eating his noonday meal, gave up the pleasure of his wine cup, and hurried along with his bell and prayer book in hand. When Taoist Wang arrived, the two men were still engaged in a heated argument. Both immediately asked him to pass judgment. But not waiting for them to finish their explanation, Taoist Wang said, "What are you arguing about on New Year's Day? Let matters be. Wu's son is already dead. I have come to offer prayers for the dead." Fatty Woo almost burst with anger. Without waiting for any further questions, he raised his fist aiming at the priest. No time for questions. The priest replied by thrusting his own fist at Fatty Woo. The three men thereupon began to pummel one another in earnest. Hearing the brawl, the son, daughter, and wife of Fatty Woo rushed out to help him. They fought ferociously inside the house and then outside on the road. Many people were attracted by the commotion and gathered to watch. Although bruised and injured, none would stop fighting until some neighbors forcibly parted them. and tried to find out what had started such a terrible fight to begin with. "There he is!" the three shouted almost simultaneously as they spotted little Pockface among the crowd. "He is the troublemaker!" They screamed and rushed toward him with raised fists. But little Pockface boldly stood his ground and with chest puffed out, told the crowd everything he had heard while lingering in the temple. "So, what do you want?" he demanded of the three men. "I purposely did this to show you for what you are. I wanted everyone to know how despicable you truly are." With that, the people burst out laughing and started to clap. "A good fight!" they exclaimed. "A good fight!" The three men were speechless, hung their heads in shame, and went home without uttering a word. And that's the end of New Year offerings.